Hello. So, basically during lecture, the professor covered a voting game between Mo, Larry, and Curly. In this game, for some reason, Mo, Larry, and Curly are the only people who get to vote. Although X, Y, and Z candidates are in basically, they are running for president or whatever, X, Y, and Z do not get a vote. So the preferences of Mo, Larry, and Curly are listed as follows. Mo prefers X to be president, then Y, then Z. Larry prefers Y to be president, but prefers Z over X. And Curly wants Z to be president, then X, and then Y. So we know that X and Y are in the same political party. So X and Y, they're going to compete together in the primaries before either X and Z or Y and Z compete in the general election. So in round 2, we know that there are two possible scenarios. The first scenario is X wins round 1, so X versus Z in round 2, or Y wins round 1, so Y versus Z in round 2. So in order to determine what happens in round 1, we should use backwards induction and look at round 2 first. So something I want to clarify for everyone, I want to make sure that y'all know, if we have a round 1, round 2, all the way to round end game, you should almost always use backwards induction. And in this case, you should definitely use backwards induction because that's how you solve the game. So, what happens if X wins round 1 and X versus Z in round 2? Well, we know that it's basically X versus Z. So let's see who would vote for what. Mo would definitely vote for X, so that's 1 point on X. We know that Larry really wants Y to win, but since Y is not in the competition anymore, it's Z versus X. So Larry would prefer Z to win. Now we have Curly. Curly's looking at Z, X, or Y. So since Curly prefers Z over X, Curly would vote for Z. So in this scenario, we know that Z wins. Yay! Anyways, so let's look at this scenario where instead of X winning the primaries, Y wins the primaries. So it would be Y versus Z in the general election. Now, let's see. We know that Mo would definitely vote for Y because Mo prefers Y over Z. And we know that Larry would vote for Y because Larry prefers Y over Z. And lastly, we know that Curly would vote for Z because Z is preferred over Y. There you go. So in this case, we know that Y wins. So when we look at round 2, all the possible case scenarios, which are only 2 possible case scenarios, Z wins or Y wins. So we know for a fact that X could never win, which is a sad truth for Mo, but he'll get over it. So in round 1, when we're saying X versus Y, we know that X versus Y is actually Y versus Z. Why is it Y versus Z? Because if X wins, then Z wins. If Y wins, then Y wins. So let's look at it. Mo would rather vote for Y than Z. So Y gets a point. We know that Larry would rather vote for Y than Z. So Y gets another point. And we know that Curly would rather vote for Z than Y, which means Curly would vote for X. Therefore, we know that in this case, using backwards induction, Y would win. And then after that, we'd go to round 2, where Y wins, and Y would win round 2 as well. So, if you all take the time to look at this holistically, you will find that no one would deviate in this case scenario. Just take a moment to look at it, and please email me or text me if y'all have any questions. Thank you.